Hey, what do you think of NASA? You may think of mighty rockets, rovers, and astronauts. What you may not realize is that NASA is the home of the largest group of Earth scientists in the world.
With more than 25 satellites in orbit, NASA tracks critical changes all over the globe, from air quality to extreme weather patterns. Joining us today to celebrate Earth Day, a day early, is NASA expert John Haynes. Good morning.
Hi, John. He's joining us live from Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland, just outside D.C. Glad to have you with us. All right, so this year marks the 53rd celebration of Earth Day. Can you share some of what we're learning about our planet?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, and happy Earth Day to you and everyone across San Antonio. As you mentioned, when people think of NASA, they think a lot, and rightfully should, about our missions to the moon, Mars, James Webb Space Telescope. But what they may not know is that we study our planet, our home planet of Earth, more than any other in the universe. In fact, we have 25 satellites and sensors, including some on the International Space Station, that are continuously monitoring Earth's weather, climate, and environment for both research and applied purposes. We're learning so much about the Earth system and how it is changing, including our atmosphere, our oceans, our ice caps, and our land.
Really incredible technology. Now, recently we've seen some pretty extraordinary weather, like the extreme snowfall in California. How are these bizarre weather patterns informing our thinking about climate change?
Yeah, it seems like you just can't turn on the news every week and hear about another 1 in a 1,000-year event occurring. In fact, last year, the United States had 18 $1 billion plus natural disasters, which is far more than average. And we know from many studies and many reports that in a warming world, due to greenhouse gases, we're going to see more extreme events like this. And for example, just last week in Florida, we saw in Fort Lauderdale 2 feet of rain fall in a 24-hour period. We saw in California last year extreme drought and extreme wildfires, and the wildfire seasons are becoming more intense and lasting longer. But then that switched, and you can see these extreme switches a lot of times too, where atmospheric rivers this winter began to impact California, causing widespread flooding.
John, we deal with a lot of droughts, including extreme drought here in South Texas, and flooding when it does rain a lot. How does climate change impact those things?
Well, you got to remember, with climate change, a warming world, a warming atmosphere holds more water. It holds more water vapor, and that water vapor has to be precipitated out as rainfall or snowfall. And so that's when we're seeing these extreme flooding events, because more water vapor is being able to be held by the atmosphere. And our satellites can detect that. In fact, they detect precipitation all across the world. But there's a flip side to that in other places, where when it's hot and it's dry and you get extreme high pressure systems, instead what you have is a drought start forming. And luckily, we also have satellites that look at soil moisture. So we're able to use that information and provide it to farmers even, and into agricultural services across the United States and the world.
Talking about communities, NASA doesn't just observe these changes. How is that data used to help communities cope with these challenges?
Yeah, that's the best part of my job. As the manager of health and air quality applications, I get to take all of that treasure trove of NASA satellite data and information and put it in the hands of people here on the ground who are making decisions on policies, on forecasts, on management issues. And that includes partners across the nation and the world. Recently, we worked with the island of Puerto Rico and the National Weather Service there to develop a 3-day early warning system for Saharan dust storms that impact that island. We also worked with the CDC to integrate information from our satellites on pollution, precipitation, even UV radiation into their public health tracking network that is used by public health officials across the country.
All right, John Haynes with the Goddard Space Flight Center outside Washington, D.C. Happy Earth Day, John.
Happy Earth Day to you as well. Get outside and enjoy it, because as I tell everybody, this is the only planet we found yet that can sustain life, so it's precious.
Wow, big perspective there. All right, thank you, John. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Keep up to date with all of San Antonio's top news, weather, and so much more by clicking the like and subscribe buttons below. And once again, thanks for watching KSAT.